So you might be asking yourself, why Go, or Golang as they sometimes call it? Why not some of the other web development environments that exist? And that's a legitimate question, and there's nothing wrong with lots of other development environments. But let me give you some of the reasons why Go is such a good language. One of the most popular PHP development environments right now is called Laravel, and there's nothing wrong with that. Node.js is a great runtime that allows you to write your applications in JavaScript, both on the client side and on the server side. And there are many other frameworks and environments that you might choose to work with. But Go has some significant advantages over those, in my opinion. To start with, Go is a compiled language. It's not an interpreted language. PHP, for example, is an interpreted language, which means every time that you hit a page on a site built in PHP, it has to load that page into memory, run it through the interpreter, and then execute the necessary code and send the page to the end user. Go is compiled. That makes it much, much faster. In some cases, as much as 200 times faster than the same operation done in PHP. Also, there are no runtimes to worry about. So if you're using PHP or you're using Python, well, you need to make sure that you have the correct version of PHP or of Python installed on your server. You don't have that problem with Go because everything is compiled to a single binary file. All of the third-party packages, anything else you might use, goes into a single binary file, and that is extremely convenient. It's also a statically typed language, which means you can't accidentally put a date into a variable that's meant to hold an integer, for example. Now, you can do that in dynamically typed languages, and what that often results in is you have surprises when you run the application. Things don't work the way you expected because you tried to put one type of data into a variable that's supposed to hold a different kind of data. And you can't have that in Go. You can't even compile the application if you're trying to do that sort of thing. So you don't have any surprises when you launch an application. It's also sort of object-oriented. And there's a fair bit of discussion about this on the internet. But basically, it's a language which has some of the elements of an object-oriented programming language like PHP or Java, but it implements them using something called interfaces. And we'll talk more about that when we get to the interfaces part of the course. But extremely easy to write Go code. Also, you get concurrency out of the box. So if I'm running an application on a server that has, for example, 8 processors, I can take advantage of all 8 processors. I can have things running concurrently. So I can have my application running and doing multiple things at the same time. Whereas JavaScript and PHP, for the most part, are single-threaded application programming languages. You can only do one thing at a time. Now, to be fair, there are ways around that, but it's jumping through an awful lot of hoops to accomplish something that you get out of the box with Go. Go can also be compiled for the Mac, for Windows, for Linux, and for many other operating systems without any difficulty whatsoever. And finally, Go has excellent package management, far superior, in my opinion, to, say, Composer in the PHP world, and it has excellent testing functionality built into it as well. And when we get to the testing part of the course and the package management part of the course, we'll discover just how effective and how well written these things are. Finally, Go is incredibly concise and very, very easy to learn. And it was built from the beginning, right from the outset, to be aware of the web, of the internet, and it takes advantage of lots of things that you don't find in other programming languages. For example, while you can run a web server in PHP, it's not a very good one, and you can't have more than 2 or 3 people accessing the site at the same time or it crashes. Whereas in Go, you have a web server built right into the standard library, which is production ready. It will handle thousands of simultaneous users, provided that you have a server that can handle that kind of traffic. But it's a great language to work with, it's easy to learn, and I think you're going to enjoy it a great deal.